What's up, Flock? We're off and running on a Monday, November 18th. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream, which is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. As always, I'm Bobby Trossett, joined alongside Sarah Ellison. We're here to review and comb through anything that we spent 90 minutes last night, Sarah, doing it, but there's more to talk about when it comes to this Week 11 loss in Pittsburgh. Ravens fall to 7-4, final score 18-16. To the Steelers. They have now lost, what was it, 8 of 9 against Pittsburgh?
8 of the last 9.
Certainly not a statistic that the Ravens will want to wear their, hard hats on. But bottom line is a lot of national reaction has poured in, including from the former Raven, Rex Ryan, that we'll comb through and discuss in just a bit. Mike Tomlin talked about the 2-point conversion, perhaps how there was a slight little tell there, which is why or I guess part of the advantage of taking the timeout prior to the 2-point conversion. Emotions were running high. Marlon Humphrey opened up about how he was feeling in game. George Pickens talked about Marlon as well. We know those two are two dynamic personalities, and we'll have a ton of different observations in terms of the snap counts and some of the things that we discussed late last night. But partner, good to see you. Let's get it started.
Good to see you also. I mean, at least it was a 1:00 game, so we're nicely rested and kind of ready to go. But I'll tell you who else was ready to go. It was Damian Woody and Rex Ryan. Because, Bobby, when I tell you that Rex Ryan went scorched earth on Todd Monken in his usage of Derrick Henry throughout the Ravens-Steelers game, to him and to the guys on the Get Up show, they felt like it was criminal. Here you go, buckle in. I pulled out a lot of different things because he had a lot of one-liners and he was not happy.
How does Derrick Henry have 13 touches? How the hell does Derrick Henry have 13 touches? Why did you bring him here? Why? Like, in games like this, you know it's not going to be some high-flying circus. This is the biggest rivalry in the NFL. This is why you bring Derrick Henry in. For games like this, it's supposed to be like a just knock him out type of game. 13 touches? What is Todd Monken doing? The same Todd Monken in the AFC Championship game that didn't run the football?
This game is the reason you go out and get Derrick Henry, and he gets 13 carries.
Yeah, and I said give him the ball at least 25 times in this game. Todd Monken, man, congratulations. You know, this guy should be a head coach. Why? Hell, be lucky you're an offensive coordinator. Everybody in the world knows you should run the damn football with Derrick Henry, especially in this. This is a physical game. This is not going to be a high-scoring game.
This is a field goal game. Yeah.
I'm going to give it to a dude that weighs 260 pounds, runs a 4.3 or whatever the hell it is, and I can give him the ball. By the way, he gets better as the game goes on. Do you realize he doesn't get started until he has 15 carries? And by the way, it's criminal he's not on the field for a 2-point play.
You say that Derrick Henry doesn't usually get started till the fourth quarter. Well, yesterday he never got started in the fourth quarter. He had 0 touches in the fourth quarter.
This guy's brilliant.
Of a one-possession game.
This coordinator is brilliant.
Todd Monken.
Excuse me?
Todd Monken's brilliant.
You said what now?
Yeah, he had no touches in the fourth quarter.
I mean, it's just, you can't make this crap up. Most physical team wins. But you know what? Who else does? The smartest damn coach. Hey, you know what? If you ain't going to use him, send him to Dallas. I always said this, Greeny.
Yeah.
There's one coordinator in the league that can stop the Baltimore Ravens, and that's their offensive coordinator, Todd Monken.
All right, Bobby, I know both you and I watched that this morning. What was your reaction when you were listening to Rex and the crew?
That I think a little bit of context is needed in what took place in the minutia of the game and the nuance of the game. The big takeaway is, of course, Ravens Steelers, you want Derrick Henry to be used as a sledgehammer early and often. He was brought to Baltimore to be that. Of course, in the Ravens Steelers physicality that it comes with, you want 22 to be out there getting into the second level as you and everybody else wanted leading into this game, meeting up with PQ, meeting up with others in the linebacker level. But I think a few things need to be discussed here in terms of the usage. One, Derrick had 4 touches negated by penalty yesterday alone. So, 13 carries goes in as the official stat sheet, right, in terms of his numbers. But that would really look like 17 had the Ravens played a clean game. And then there's been a lot of conversation this morning in terms of specifically the fourth quarter usage. And you heard the statistic there given by Mike Greenberg saying that Derrick had 0 touches in the fourth. Well, again, 0 official touches because of penalties that negated at least 1 touch that Derrick received, which I believe was that designed, was it a swing pass? I believe it was a designed fourth quarter swing pass for Derrick. So on top of that, the Ravens had just 2 offensive drives in the fourth quarter, and one of which went for a 10-play touchdown on the second time. The first one, of course, was when Peyton Wilson made that incredible play wrestling the football from Justice Hill, which goes down as an interception. So just some context here. Again, big takeaway. You want the King to be used early. You want him to be used often. But that is some necessary context that should be part of the equation.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear you, and I'm glad that you brought it up. So he would have had 17 carries if it wasn't negated by, it's probably still not enough. I don't think that if you go to Rex and you say, hey, Rex, it was actually 17, Rex would have been like, oh, my bad, Monken, my bad. You know what I mean?
He'd flip me off if I told him that, right?
He'd be like, Bobby, let me tell you something, all right? He always says, all right.
Oh, you know what he'd say? Just like he did over text. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. No, I'm thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and if we want to add more context, because some people are sticking up on Twitter for Monken, is in the fourth quarter, the Ravens had 2 drives. Okay, on the first drive, there were 2 plays, and then there was that interception stolen from Justice Hill. So 2 plays on that first drive, and then the second drive, you are down on that one. You're down, so you can't be running a lot. You have little time to get in there and try to get a touchdown. So there were 10 plays and they got the touchdown. So again, so that's, I'm not only fine, I'm happy we're bringing in context, but as you said, even with that context, I think the point still stands. And yesterday I made a mistake, Bobby. Somebody in the super chat said that the Ravens weren't balanced and they threw too much. And then I said, well, it was actually, I said they had ran it, 15 times with running backs. And I said that Lamar threw it 16. Well, he had 16 completions. He had 33 attempts. So I misspoke on that. I went to go look at his stats and then I saw the completions. And so I said the wrong thing.
19 total carries, just to be clear, 19 total carries team wide, 33
team wide,
passes.
15 with running backs, which was and you had brought this up yesterday. It was the same critique in that AFC Championship game because the 6 carries, everybody says they only had 6 carries. They had 6 carries with running backs, right? And so Lamar had run some also. This one, it was 15 carries with running backs. In this game, at least with the AFC Championship game, you could maybe say, oh, well, the Ravens went down early, right? They were down by 14. This game was always in reach. Like they never scored a touchdown. The Steelers never scored a touchdown. So I think the point stands with what Rex and Damian are saying, even with all the context, that this is the game that you bring Derrick Henry in for. And on top, and here's what's tough, and I made this point yesterday, is on that second play of the game when he fumbles, it's like, dang, Derrick, this is what you were brought here for. It was for these types of matchups. But I don't think that I don't think that Monken went away from him because of that. And so it's not because he was playing poorly and then Monken took it away. Because Derrick came back, he had that 31-yarder. There was another drive where they were getting things moving and they were kind of marching a little bit by little bit when using Derrick. So here's the thing though, Bobby, that I want to say. Rex Ryan would score short on Todd Monken to the point where he's like making fun of the idea that he could be a head coach, saying you should be grateful that you're an offensive coordinator. In a segment that they came back and revisited this topic later, Bobby, Rex did come out and say a little bit, well, John Harbaugh needs to step in. He kind of said John can step in. He did it very lightly, but he did mention that John can step in. And that's the whole thing is remember back, John Harbaugh earlier this season said, hey, we didn't bring Derrick Henry in to run 30 times a game. Okay, well, what about 20 to 25, which is what Rex is suggesting here. And so this isn't a Monken only thing, although he's certainly part of it because he's calling the plays. This is clearly a Todd and John Harbaugh thing because John Harbaugh made that statement. That's not why we brought Derrick in. So he's on board with it. And so it's something that they together as head coach and offensive coordinator need to address, especially in games like this one. Fine. If you're trying to save Derrick Henry for the postseason, cool. But against the Pittsburgh Steelers, where you're trying to out-physical one another, well, that's what you brought Derrick Henry in for. And 13 to 17 carries wasn't enough.
That 20 to 25 number that you mentioned, I just pulled up his log for the season. He's hit that multiple times this year.
And they're winning when he does.
Oh, you better believe it.
Yeah.
Week 3 in Dallas, 25, win. Week 4, home, Buffalo, convincing win, 24 carries.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Washington, home, victory, 24 carries. 23 against Denver, thumping win for the Ravens. And so 1, 2, 3, 4 times he's gone for 20 plus this year. And wait, let me just make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, and all 4 of them are wins. So in the 4 times, Sarah, that the King has gotten at least 20 carries, they're 4-0.
Yeah, and
just
some of
down
that. Now I'm trying to remember back to the context of those 4 games. I mean, I don't know. Was one of them in the Bengals? I can't remember. I don't know.
It was Dallas, Buffalo, Washington, and Denver.
Okay. Well, Buffalo, they had an easy, like you said, it was convincing and easy. So it's easy to give them fourth quarter carries, right? Because you're trying to drain the clock. But with some of those others, it's not like the Ravens were running away with it.
Nope.
Right? Yeah.
Nope.
So like somebody had said yesterday in our super chats, like, hey, it's just one game, move on. And I agree with that. You have to move on. And at the same time, it's like, but this is what hurt you in the AFC Championship game, right? This is like, you have to be able to learn from mistakes and not repeat them. And so it's an underutilization of your run game. It's penalties, stuff that's kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Super chats are pouring in this afternoon. Captain Hard says Derrick Henry did not get a carry in the fourth quarter. That's true. He did get a touch, which again was negated due to penalty. It was the designed swing pass that went for, I believe, 15, definitely 10 plus. It was a positive yardage play. Evan Burstein says when your offense is picking up first down penalties every drive, it makes running the ball difficult. Captain Hard says, hate to do it. This game was on Justin Tucker. If he didn't have the yips, I could give him a pass for Sunday. Jang says, still mad about yesterday's loss. Given how we choke on games, I feel like we are the less televised version of the Cowboys. Please don't block me. David says, the missed field goals cost the Ravens a win. How much longer do we continue to wait for this to get corrected, or is JT officially washed? Well, for a guy who nailed right down Main Street from 54 after missing from 47 and 50, tells you he's not washed. The distance tells you he's not washed. It's something he's got to get corrected. He and his team with Jordan Stout and Nick Moore and Randy Brown and Chris Horton. It's going to take a team effort to get this thing turned around. They're going to need him down the stretch. What Brewski have to say?
I'll get to that just real quick. Somebody mentioned again in chat that yesterday I said I didn't see there was a problem with the usage. And like I said, I looked at the numbers incorrectly. So I was wrong in what I was looking at in the numbers yesterday. So just want to put
Sorry,
that
I didn't catch that in real time.
It's all good. And that's on me. And then on top of it, I do believe we both agreed that the 2-point conversion stuff was criminal not to have him out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we all remember Lamar Jackson after the game. I pulled it up and I transcribed it, and we tweeted about how annoyed he was with the Ravens shooting themselves in the foot. Teddy Bruschi disagreed with his take. I want to get your thoughts on this after this clip.
I wait for ever since last year, I believe, going back to the AFC Championship game, we killed ourselves. Chiefs game, the opener, killed ourselves. Raiders, we killed ourselves. And today, same thing. It's just like we can't be beating ourselves in these type of games. We got to find a way to fix that. Come on.
So you're not buying it. I don't see it. I don't see what he's seeing when he wants to focus on penalties and things like that. But the Steelers hit you in the mouth, man. I mean, that's what it is when you play the Steelers and they beat you. You got to give it up. Your players weren't good enough, all right? The mighty Derrick Henry fumbled on like the second play of the game, all right? Peyton Wilson made a play where you tried to rub him even, took the interception from Justice Hill. Patrick Queen took Isaiah Likely and said, give me that ball. That's what happened. You got beat.
What do you think?
On a couple of the specific plays that he's referencing, sure.
Yeah.
Right. Peyton was just, that's electrifying play right there. That's an all-world play from Peyton Wilson that you would like to think is an outlier when it comes to Ravens football. PQ, all-out effort there on Likely. But again, it goes back to what we discussed right off the top of yesterday's post-game show. Multiple field goal misses, penalties, right? 4 for 11 on third down and not using the king in a do or die situation. That to me is everything that's in control. I'm sorry, it's everything that the Ravens have in their control. So on those specific plays, sure. But the others, to me, the others trump those two that he's mentioning.
Yeah, I think that this is one of those cases where both things are true at once. Because absolutely, I mean, Derrick Henry, Isaiah Likely, just punched in the mouth. Like the Steelers wanted the ball more, and you didn't hold on to the ball all the way through, and they were swiping and scrapping and doing whatever they could until the absolute last second. And they did. I feel like they out-physicaled the Ravens. At the same time, even Teddy Bruschi after that admitted, okay, well, Todd Monken did hurt your ability a little bit to match up in the physicality if you're underutilizing Derrick Henry. And then when he's like, I don't see, like he's naming the penalties and he's like, but I don't like, look at it, Bobby. I just wanted to review. This is just offensive penalties, not even ones that were declined.
Just
this
offense.
Is just offense. I could have gone to special teams and defense also, but just offense. In the first quarter, Ronnie Stanley on 2nd and 9 gets an offensive holding for 10 yards. Yeah, they punted 2 plays later. That's going to happen when you're on 2nd and 9 and get a holding, and all of a sudden you're 2nd and 19. Okay. Then in the second quarter, here's one of those touches that doesn't count for Henry. Penalty by McCary for his offensive holding, 10 yards. Okay. On the exact same drive, Lamar Jackson hit Mark Andrews for 14, thinking, okay, they're going to make it up this time. Nope. As soon as you take a step forward, you take another step back, another penalty on Nelson Aguilar for a false start. So they punted a play 2 plays later after that penalty by Aguilar. So 2 in that drive. Then let's go to the fourth quarter. Zay Flowers gets that false start penalty. They punted 2 plays later. No, excuse me. They had they punted 2 plays later. And then another one in the fourth quarter, McCary gets the ineligible downfield, and they got to figure that out. He had 2 ineligible downfield penalties in the fourth quarter. After the first one, that's when the interception with Justice Hill happened, and on the second one, that was the first time they overcame a penalty, and that's when they scored almost to tie the game if they had scored the 2-point conversion. So, I mean, Lamar is right. Like, when you're talking about on the offensive side of the ball, you keep shooting yourself in the foot and you constantly have your dig yourself out. And against teams that don't have as good of a defense as the Steelers, or against teams or coaches that don't know you as well as Mike Tomlin and the Steelers, you can overcome, you can dig yourself out of those early holes. But that's much harder to do against elite defenses. So I think both things are definitely true at once. And Bobby, for sure, the Ravens shot themselves in the foot on that 2-point conversion, which we haven't even totally dug into. Because remember, last night, I was still confused as to what the call was. But now I feel like I have some clarity, and I feel like you do too.
Well, the Steelers gave us that, and we're about to get to that in just a second. Today's live stream is brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep, the official sleep mask partner of the Vault, and you're looking at the Manta Sleep Mask Pro. on the screen right now. For those of you in the audio-only audience, give it a shot, mantasleep.com. Go check it out. Again, for side sleepers, for folks that are looking to enhance their sleep overall, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro is a great option to do so. You've got true 100% blackout for a deeper sleep. C-shaped eye cups, again, that helps out side sleep comfort. Zero pressure is applied to your eyelids or lashes. You got advanced materials and ventilation built in for unmatched breathability. And when I take you over to the site, that's not the only option that you have right there. Again, right here, mantasleep.com. You can use our discount code at checkout, VAULT10, for 10% off your next purchase. But the Bluetooth option, the sound mask with that built-in Bluetooth feature, is something that's always enticing and a bestseller, along with the Manta Sleep Mask Pro and the OG masks like the Silk and the Sleep Masks. So again, mantasleep.com, as you see in our show notes. You can go on over there, and at checkout, if you find something you like with the holidays coming up, use our discount code. It helps out, obviously, us. It helps you out, hopefully, and it helps out our brand sponsors so that they can continue to help build this channel with us on the back end. Mantasleep.com. More information's in the show notes. Let's talk about this would have been two-point conversion, tying game, do or die situation. I think a minute and 6 seconds was left out on the clock. And ultimately, Mike Tomlin calls a timeout, Sarah, before the Ravens can get this play snapped, which, as he shared yesterday in his post-game press conference, gave him somewhat of an idea for what was coming.
Point conversion at the end, what was going through your mind at that point?
I wanted to see what structure they were in and call a timeout, and we did that. And thankfully, we even saw some of the semblance of the schematics of what they intended to run. I think that made them change and go the other direction. And obviously, particularly Mr. Jackson is a little bit less dangerous when he's going to his left than his right. And so we're thankful for that.
What were your thoughts on that?
I feel like it's another iteration of Mike Tomlin out-coaching the Ravens coaches.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he just seems so in control at the end of these games. And so just to be clear, because a lot of people took this to mean, oh, all the Ravens did was run the exact same play and go the other direction. As one person said to Jeff Zrebeck. And Jeff, the broadcast, what people were saying in the locker room, all of that, he says, Jeff is like, well, wasn't the play before a Jackson run up to the line of scrimmage and then throw a pop-up pass? That's at least what I saw, but maybe my eyes deceived me. That's certainly what the Steelers said it was. Not sure the relation to that and the QB run to the left. So Mike Tomlin saying he got a good idea of the basic structure they wanted to be in, but it does not mean that they were going to run the exact same play to the right.
You know what, too, Sarah? The player perspective might help on this as well. And Patrick Queen was asked about it. So you had the coaching perspective there from Tomlin. And here's PQ post-game.
For that two-point conversion, could you walk us through your mindset against a versatile player like that?
Yeah, we seen how they came out. I think it was tackle over. Justice was in the backfield. He was wide. I think Mark Andrews was to my side too. And they ran quick this way to try to get everybody flowing. And Lamar was running up to the line of scrimmage. I think he was about to do a jump pass, but I can't remember to who. Yep. Maybe the guy who reported eligible. And then we called a timeout. We just understood, like, everybody just do their job. We ain't got to do nothing spectacular. Just go out there and just get a play and make a stop. And Joy, who usually be the most quiet one, was sitting there like, we stopping them and now scoring this two-point conversion. So that was huge. And hearing him actually gave everybody some confidence to go out there and get that stop.
Okay, so that's right. So it was going to be a jump play. It was not the exact play, but to the left instead of the right. So good on PQ. That's what was going on there. Still, though, the timeout helped them.
Yeah.
Now, as much as Tomlin did a good job of getting the timeout, the execution on this play was absolutely horrendous. Now, remember, yesterday we talked about it a bit. We were like, are you sure there wasn't a pass going on here? Yada, yada, yada. After listening to all the players, after listening to the pressers and what was in locker room, it was for sure a QB run to the left. For once, Emmanuel Acho and I had a good Twitter exchange this morning, Bobby. He put up a breakdown of what happened on the two-point conversion. And, I retweeted it. talking about the blown blocking assignments, which we're going to play here in just a second. And then, he was saying, based off of my tweet yesterday, he's like, I saw yesterday you tweeted and thought that Lamar was trying to pass it. He goes, I think Lamar was just trying to do a pump fake to get people off of him to do something on his own. So last time Emmanuel Achu and I had a Twitter exchange, we were disagreeing for days. It was about whether or not, remember, Lamar had set up as a left-handed quarterback to throw off the Dolphins and then move to the right. So we fought all day long. But today we were agreeing. Here is his breakdown. The blocking on this is atrocious, and it starts before the play with Isaiah Likely and Nelson Aguilar arguing over who was supposed to line up where.
Hey, the Ravens' 2-point conversion play was over before it started. Number one, watch Nelson Aguilar and Likely trying to figure out who's going to line up where. Likely's like, hey, bro, I'm on the line of scrimmage. Aguilar's like, hey, chill. Likely slaps his hand off of him. Now, here's the other dilemma. Likely has to work with the tackle to work on this defensive end, and then Likely has to work up to the linebacker. Aguilar has to aggressively block this outside linebacker so that the offensive lineman can pull and block JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., who inevitably makes a tackle. Now, Lamar, he's snapping it while Likely's still messing with his mouthpiece. First, let's take a look at Likely. Okay, Likely, you're supposed to double, and you need to work up to here. Likely won't end up doing that. Aguilar, you have to aggressively block this outside backer so that these two pulling linemen have a clear train to come out here and kick out and knock out Joey Porter Jr. so Lamar can waltz into the end zone. Okay, Nelson, he gets blown up, but he wasn't really going to win versus an outside backer. Now the two pulling linemen, they can't pull around. So now Lamar got to try to beat this dude by himself. Keep in mind, Likely, you supposed to double to this backer. You just looking around confused. Aguilar, because he didn't necessarily seal the outside backer, now these linemen can't pull for JPJ, and over before it started.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, Sarah, earlier today, can we rewind that for 1 second?
Oh,
it doesn't
sure.
need to be, it can be paused when we
Hey,
do
the
that.
Ravens 2-point.
Or muted when we do that. So some people online were like, Tomlin was wide open. Well, wait a second. Wait till the play develops. I mean, maybe right when Lamar gets it, Tomlin would have waltzed in. But wait till this play develops. Everybody is covered on this play. It was sunk from the very beginning, like he said. And Isaiah was useless on this play.
He didn't do anything.
Look at him. He's in no man's land.
He didn't do
That's tough. That's just.
And listen, I don't know what the assignments were.
Yeah.
But to me, I feel much better about my tight end blocking Nick Herbig, a massive defensive end one-on-one versus Nelson Aguilar, your wide receiver. So I don't know exactly what was told to whom, but I know that I would feel better about Isaiah Likely doing that. So once Nelly got pushed back, I mean, Linderbaum said it. He said, me and Pat McCary are supposed to get around on pull blocks. We just got caught up. Yeah, they did. Yeah. Because Nelson Aguilar got blown up.
Right.
And Tyler says stuff happens, play of the game, just how the D ends are playing. It's a tough block for the receiver there. So he's saying it. That's a mismatch right there. Totally. So instead of swiping away Nelson Aguilar's hand, I feel better about Nelson double teaming somebody and then going up to get a linebacker rather than the defensive end. So that was, I mean, literally, like everybody's blocking assignment is blown. And to your point, like you said, Tylan Wallace, some people are saying he's open, or even Mark Andrews. There is no way in Hades, even Lamar Jackson with his cape on, I don't see how he could have completed that. He had the ball in his left hand for a minute. Like he was just trying to do a pump, try to get the defenders to jump so that maybe he could still find a way to wiggle into the end zone.
Yeah.
No, and it like Todd Monken, rip it up, burn it, throw it in the trash can. Don't ever want to see that play again. But Bobby, one more thing on this idea. So the execution was horrendous. The decision to not have Derrick Henry out there, in Rex Ryan's words, was criminal. But I want to point out that wasn't the only place that Tomlin outsmarted the Ravens. Okay, because on the very next drive, let's remember what happened. So the Steelers come out, they hand off to Najee Harris. All they got to do, because the Ravens have 3 timeouts, they just got to get 1 first down. So Najee Harris gets stopped like he had been all day. Rush defense playing great. I think he maybe gained a yard or 2. So now they have a second down. And Baltimore correctly calls a timeout because you have to stop the clock. You got to stop the clock to try to get the ball back if you can get 3 stops. So the Ravens call a timeout, and what do you know what Mike Tomlin does? He switches his quarterback. So in comes Fields. Have a great play where Fields should have had the first down, but he slid a yard short. Okay, yeah. So it's a gift. It's a gift. So Ravens call a timeout again to stop the clock. And now it's 3rd and 1. And Mike Tomlin sends Russell Wilson back there on 3rd and 1. They're in the huddle. They get lined up. Then last second before the snap, Tomlin now got an idea of the Ravens' preferred defensive package, calls a timeout. Like, so no harm, no foul, because the clock was already stopped. So he calls a timeout, had the defense ready for Russell Wilson, but he sends back in Fields again.
Yeah.
And then they're able to convert. Like, Mike Tomlin, 1,000% should be in the running for Coach of the Year. And he 1,000% was like, listen, I love John Harbaugh and the culture he sets up at the Ravens. It's phenomenal culture. I think that's undeniable. But I'm trying to remember the last time where you're like, dang, John Harbaugh just outsmarted the guy across from him. Like, down in crunch time when it mattered. You know what I mean? Instead, it's more like you're using timeouts at the wrong time, or, you know, this and that. It's just like, and last week, not Mike Tomlin. It was, what was the iconic meme? It was him, got him, when he got the Commanders to go off and have an offsides on 4th down. And it's like, you just want to see that more often from like John is a phenomenal head coach. He has put together a phenomenal team, and he's got a great culture, but when it counts, he's got to outsmart the Mike Tomlins and Andy Reids of the world. He's got to. Like, as much as we talk about Lamar, and it's not like Lamar is, like he said, like, he played fine. He didn't like do anything spectacular. You're obviously going to have some people like Nick Wright who are, you know, blaming him. And again, like, Lamar didn't take things over. He played into the narrative that's already there, right? So he's not completely blameless, but also, like, can we just be smarter with our game plans? Like, this was the point of bringing in Derrick Henry. You can see Nick Wright, you know, coming at him.
Oh, he's just big. Yeah. These tweets right here are essentially just noting, aside from Pittsburgh and Kansas City, the guy's just a wizard. And he becomes below average, subpar when facing the Steelers and Chiefs. He's 3-9. He's 66-19 against the rest of the league. And he's 3-9 against Pittsburgh and Kansas City.
It's crazy. And like they have here, it is undeniable. And so, as much though as that's why I was happy to hear that it wasn't just like, oh, it's Lamar can't overcome these guys. It's Lamar and the coaches and the team for sure. And so I want to see Harbaugh outsmart Tomlin and Reid in these games. And Harbaugh will have another chance in Baltimore against Tomlin. And then if everything goes right, he might have another chance against Reid. Like, it's just as much as on the head coach and the offensive coordinator as it is the quarterback.
Super chats flying in. Laura writes, does anyone agree suggesting Keaton Mitchell is not playing because there is not a spot? Criminal. He only had, I think, 2 offensive snaps. We'll get to that in the quick hits in terms of his usage. Mostly since he's been back, it's been special teams. Captain Hard writes, I think John maybe's given too much responsibility to his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator when it comes to crucial downs. Deshaun Davis didn't catch a lot of the game, mainly because I was adding new fish in my tank. But from what I've seen, our play calling seemed very predictable. For teams that know us well, why not mix up the play calls? Predictable there in the end for reasons that we've discussed because of Mike Tomlin's timeout call. Aside from that, I think you'd be nitpicking a little bit, but yeah, the familiarity between these two teams, Sarah, is certainly undeniable. Brandon writes, Harbaugh should not be the head coach next year. The game has passed him by. He refuses to get his mentally prepared. He is way too stubborn to change. This team needs a new voice in the locker room. Dreams writes, the past 2 weeks, Henry has combined for 133 yards. He has over 1,100 on the season, and he needs 921 to break the record with 6 more games left. Needs to average 153.5 yards per game from here on out. That's the single season record. Diesel Doctor writes, blame Monken all day long, but we lost by 2 points. No turnovers, we win the game. If we didn't miss 2 field goals, we win the game. Don't get 200 penalties, and we win the game. Playing undisciplined football got the L.
Yeah, and I think that we mentioned all of those things yesterday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even today in passing.
Pointing out some of the coaching, the coaching chess match and who won that doesn't negate all of those things that Diesel Doctor is also pointing out, because Derrick Henry does need to hold on to the ball, and he knows that. And Isaiah Likely does need to hold on to the ball, and they do need to stop with the false starts or all the other stuff for sure. None of it negate. I'm not saying one is more than the other. Listen, we could even overcome the turnovers if the field goals are made, right? We could overcome the missed field goals if we don't have turnovers. You can maybe overcome all of that if you put Derrick Henry in more. You know what I mean? All of it could be said. You could take one thing out of the equation and leave all the rest, and you still win. That could be true on 3 or 4 of these things that you could blame for the loss.
No doubt. Dev James 25 says Lamar refusing to scramble against man coverage when the running lanes are there is an issue too. Tomlin and Spags know he doesn't want to take off. We talked about that a little bit last night. Colin writes, the question, Ravens lead the NFL in penalties. Why doesn't the local media really press Harbaugh on how a 16-year veteran head coach can allow that to happen? He's been asked about penalties pretty much every single post-game press. Not every. He's been asked about that a lot.
A lot. They've definitely pressed him. I mean, they're not you can't do that. They've asked him a lot for sure.
You can't yell at a head coach during a post-game press conference and retain your media credential. Last time I checked. Yeah. NCL Fantasy says, I live in Pittsburgh. This is devastating. John says, Justice Hill's fumble off the screen pass last year at the Steelers game was big. The play before, high time last, no idea. I'm just going to read it as it came in. The play before, high time last, and this year versus Steelers. Thanks, John. God C says, TM and GK, here we go again. TM and GK, Todd Monken, and are the only offensive coordinators to pass the eye test of scheme elevating the players. Harbs had 15-plus years of bad hires. No way he's not first on the chopping block. Tongsley writes, given all that's been said, do either of you think things will change?
I think they can. Would you have predicted what happened on defense yesterday? Neither of us did.
I didn't predict
Neither
it.
of us did. Neither of us did.
Yeah.
It was like the Ravens have got to outscore them. That's what we both thought. So can it? Yeah. Do I think that Justin Tucker can start kicking 50-plus yard kicks again? Yes, I do. He did it yesterday. Do I think that they can clean up the penalties? Yes, I do. Do I think that Todd Monken can call more plays for Derrick Henry? Yes, I do. I think these are all, I said this yesterday. I think these are all things that it's not about the opponent. It's about you. Just look inside and do it. So I have not given up on the season. I know a lot of people said they were yesterday, but
how can you at 7-4? You can't give up. I mean, it's, by the way, the brain fart, TM and GK, Todd Monken and Gary Kubiak. So just want to make that clear on that last super chat. Should we talk about the overflowing of emotions that took place yesterday? There was a lot of in-game antics. There were unsportsmanlike penalties flying every which way. There was a lot of post-whistle stuff between these two teams and clearly bad blood. And it did feel like, not only leading into the week, Sarah, as we discussed at length, but also in game, that this lived up to sort of a rejuvenation of what's been a little stale in recent years with this rivalry. It packed a punch yesterday and lived up to that a lot. particularly given Marlon Humphrey's post-game comments, Sarah, where he became very candid, open, and honest about how he himself was feeling in game.
Getting kind of chippy in the first half on your side of the field. What went into those couple plays back to back before that flag was thrown?
Shoot, honestly, man, I was. It was a lot. It was a lot. You know, I've been in this rivalry for a while, and I told the guys, man, I just. It was a lot. The emotions were high for me. Honestly, it was. I can't really say I've. Honestly, I can't really say I've been in a situation where I felt kind of so emotional during the game, and I kind of blame it on my family, my family group message, mainly my big sister. But yeah, man, I told some of the guys, I was like, y'all, help me out, man. I'm kind of emotions are flying for me, and so they helped me out. But yeah, it was different, man. I found myself watching over the years the Ravens Steelers highlights the other day. I don't know. I mean, I love this rivalry. I love rivalry games, but this is really the one. You know, you got the Browns, the Bengals, but to me, this is really the one. You want to get the dub. You know, you came up short, but yeah, just can't do that. Can't let the emotions get the best of you, and that's no big deal really. You got one, you can't get two, and try not to make a habit of that.
And enter George Pickens.
Especially with Humphrey, it seemed like he was involved with everybody.
Yeah, he was. It was a very, rivalry game, very chippy game. I think from the previous years, me game winner in him just trying to come out with a tougher mentality, but also costing his team flags. You know what I mean? So I'd probably say just aggressiveness. It's a rivalry game, so something you expect.
How do you feel like you guys responded to? They got chippy, you guys got chippy, but you guys kept your heads. It seems like you guys didn't commit too many of those extra penalties.
Oh yeah, I feel like that's kind of like what I want me personally want the team to be like, because a lot of guys gonna talk, I'm gonna talk, but as far as making plays on the field is the most important part, and I feel like we kind of did that a little bit more today.
Pittsburgh was the more disciplined team, certainly when you take a look at the penalties, but as we discussed last night, I think that psychological warfare comment I had lives into today as well. I've kind of been reflecting on that, and I made the comparison back to the AFC Championship game and whatnot, and the bullying and the bully being out-bullied and whatnot. But first of all, what the heck is going on in the Humphrey family group message?
Yeah.
Because that dude was on another level, and he confirmed that in his post-game press conference, as you just heard.
Yeah, I've got mixed feelings. Like, as I'm watching Humphrey, like, I felt like he played well. I felt like the defensive backs played well. Like, again, I'm okay with the emotion. But it has to be disciplined. It has to be smart. And like for example, Mike Tomlin, he knows how emotional Patrick Queen was. Patrick Queen said leading into, he's like, yeah, I'm going to have some feelings. You know, he's been in his feelings since March, of last year. And so to have those emotions are not in and of itself like a bad thing. Like, and then what Mike Tomlin did, knowing that Patrick Queen was going to be in his feelings, he sent Patrick Queen out as a captain of the game for the coin flip.
Oh, did he ever? And did you hear what he had to say post game?
Yeah, play it.
Well, I will.
About Queen.
One man's trash is another man's treasure, man. I'm glad he is on our team.
Yeah, everything this guy does is strategic.
Yeah. So he's playing into the emotion.
Oh, yeah.
So like the emotion is good. You need it in a game like as violent as football. Like, you have to have the adrenaline going. You have to be able to absorb hits, like all of it. And they're coming at you, and you got to be able to match it. So the emotion of it in and of itself is not inherently a bad thing. It's just being able to harness it smartly. And the Chiefs, we saw them harness the emotion smartly. Tomlin, we see him harnessing the emotion smartly. The Ravens are not harnessing it smartly when they're letting all these penalties kick them in their butt. And then you're not harnessing it when you're letting them rip the ball out of your arms. You know what I mean? Like, So I don't think the answer is to get rid of the emotion. I think the answer is to harness it in the correct way, the way we've seen what feels like big brothers in the Chiefs and Steelers doing.
And in Marlon's case, maybe dial it back a little bit. He never felt that in his life, he said. I was like, the way that he talked about that, I was like, wow, okay, this dude had himself a game. You got a gift from Russell Wilson there in the end zone.
Sure.
But I do think that there can be
but
a
they didn't give up any touchdowns. None. Zero.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I do think that there can be a correlation, though, between the overflowing of emotions and sort of what we discussed last night when it comes to discipline and ultimately execution. So that was sort of the
one last thought. Emotion and being smart are not diametrically opposed. Do you know what I mean? It's not one or the other. I guess that's the point here. Like you can be emotional and smart at the same time. And a lot of times we act like emotions overtake our logic. And if you do it right, you marry the two together. You don't get rid of one or the other. You have to marry them. And so that's why I'm just like that's why I said to come out of his topic is that I was a little bit fighting because it was like it felt like, well, it's okay. It's okay to be that emotional. Just be smart while you're doing it.
And in 2 games now where this has kind of been a topic, they're 0-2. 1 in the AFC Championship.
Right.
1 coming up on yesterday. I mean, not that we're comparing. Again, I don't want to overly compare the 2 games. It was just one kind of component from an observation standpoint of those 2. Next Gen Retro says, this may be premature, but dang it, I don't care. White better take all of Brandon Stevens' touches. McCary is always forefront in downfield flags. Get him out. We're going to get into those specifics of Tre'Davious White's snap count and where he ended up making his debut as a Raven. God C clarifies GK equals Kubiak, which we figured out, was referencing Rex's ESPN complaints. Jackie drops in a super sticker. Juju Bean says we're soft. We're not a tough team at all. Angie Carr says, seems like the old song and dance. Spend time, money, and effort to bring in a running back to bolster your offense, to sideline them in an attempt to prove what? Take No Prisoner says, Tre'Davious White outplaying Brandon is crazy. I promise, we're going to get there. Lil X Nation says, this team is weird. Have we had a game where all facets of our team are firing on all cylinders yet? 1 step forward, 3 steps back is getting old. The complete win probably was Buffalo. Yep. Buffalo and Denver. Aside from those 2, it's been, one or the other. And certainly not all 3 phases.
Why don't we just give the people what they want? We'll skip to it. Okay. Right. So the evolution that I think we're all kind of hoping to see already began yesterday, which was Tre'Davious White taking some of Brandon Stevens' snaps. Okay. So Brandon Stevens, as Cole Jackson points out on Twitter, has essentially been 100% snap guy at the right cornerback position. However, Trey White started to creep into some of that right cornerback snaps yesterday. So here's the snaps by position for Trey White. He got 20 on the right cornerback position, 2 in the slot, 1 in the box. Stevens was 50 for the right cornerback position. So 20, taking 20, 70 total. And White took 20 of them. We're already getting into a pretty decent chunk. Okay. Then Stevens was also 6 in the slot, 4 in the box. Then check this out, Bobby. This is what's most telling. Where did it go? No. Here it is. Okay. Ken McCusick. Talks about the 24 snaps that Tre'Davious White had. He said initially the Ravens were putting him in for dime packages only, but he replaced Stevens at right cornerback for the 4th quarter and delivered 2 pass defenses in the end zone.
Yep.
So the transformation is already beginning.
Yep.
And it's funny because in the middle of the game, I said, after this game, the Ravens have to think about giving him more snaps. And some people were like, well, how about in this game? Well, that ended up happening in the 4th quarter. They were already making the change. And based off the way he played, Bobby, with those 2 pass defenses in the end zone, which was massive in helping make sure that the Steelers didn't ever score a touchdown, he's going to continue to get more.
Yeah, as he should. 13 months removed from a torn Achilles. We know what happened, sort of, that ended his stint with the Rams. And prior to that, a stellar career with the Buffalo Bills could end up being, bailing out the Ravens from a secondary standpoint down the stretch here. While we're on this topic, remember the change in alignment, change in personnel yesterday included Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington as starting deep safeties, which meant that Marcus Williams was indeed benched, as we discussed on the postgame show. 42 snaps, Sarah, Kyle logged as deep safety. His previous season high was 14. You got to go back to opening night in Kansas City.
For Ardarius Washington?
For Kyle.
Oh, for Kyle. Okay.
For Kyle. And we sort of went back and forth on this yesterday and knew that we needed to revisit it. And here it is. Marcus played just 1 snap for an injured Kyle Hamilton. So now, depending on where you're looking at snap counts, I saw that True Media had him not logging 1 at all. The one that he was in there is when Nate Wiggins was flagged for holding. So maybe True Media doesn't count snaps for penalties.
Sure.
But if we're talking about when Marcus was on the field, it was 1, and it was a penalty by Wiggins. 1 snap. Your 3rd highest cap hit on the team.
Right. And good. I mean, listen, he's had Marcus Williams has had so many chances, and my heart does go out to him. Like, I think he's better than he's playing, and so that's got to be frustrating for him. But we're in week 11, and the Ravens can't keep waiting around. And he was fortunate to have a second chance after Eddie Jackson was put in his spot and he was benched, and then Eddie Jackson played just as terrible.
Yep.
And so he was fortunate to get a second chance. And with that second chance, he came out and didn't play well again. And so Ardarius Washington has done nothing over the last few years except work his butt off and be where he's supposed to be. And his biggest knock is that he hadn't been healthy. Well, he's healthy right now. And he seemed to shore things up at the safety position alongside Kyle Hamilton. And then with Tre'Davious White, the Ravens may have an answer to where they can get back to at least being, an average pass defense. Can we get to that for the last 5 weeks of the season, 5 games of the season? Meanwhile, some other snap count notes that Jeff Zrebeck has here. There were just 11 snaps for Deontay Johnson. Remember Lamar, when he was scrambling, was trying to get Deontay to go deep when he was scrambling. They just missed each other there. Just 2 for Keaton Mitchell on offense. So, and then Wiggins, his snap count also bumped up. That's good to see. Just keep bumping him up little by little throughout his rookie year. So this is going to be the formula, at least for next week. And if it continues to do well, it can be the formula throughout.
Yeah, for sure. More super chats. Purple Joker, thanks for the $99 super chat donation. Captain Hard says, are we still doing 2 tight end sets? I feel like we stop the under center play action we had so much success with. Maggie writes, Lamar is quarterbacky enough, but I'm not sure Harvs is coachy enough. He and Monken were clearly outcoached, and we are fully caught up. 27 super chat donations today. Appreciate you guys for being here. Over 2,500 of you concurrently watching. If you haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. And my, oh my, is an interception statistic something that requires context, Sarah, and we've got them.
It sure does. We mentioned this yesterday. We're just finish up with some quick hits here. We mentioned yesterday on the show that Lamar Jackson only has 3 interceptions this year. All 3 of them, I said it hit his receiver in at least one hand. It was both. Isn't it crazy? Like, look at these screen grabs. Bateman, both hands right there. Like, it's on the money. Mark Andrews, both hands on it, a little bit more blurry, but he's in the middle. Both hands hit it. And then yesterday, Justice Hill, both hands on it. Those are Lamar Jackson's 3 interceptions this year. Wild.
Yeah. And you haul those in, you probably win yesterday. Or excuse me. You haul in yesterday's, you probably win in Pittsburgh. You haul in on third down, I believe it was third down, against Vegas, season opener, you probably win that game. And then I can't remember. It was on the opening drive, though. If it was like the first or second play. Was this who were they playing in the middle?
I can't tell if that's
Screenshot.
Cleveland or the Browns.
Cleveland or the Browns?
Excuse me. Cleveland or the Bengals.
Yeah. Well, you know what, though? It had to have been Cleveland because they played primetime with Cincy. Oh, wait. No, they played them twice already.
It's the Commanders. It's the Commanders.
Oh, Washington. Okay, thank you guys.
So the Ravens overcame that
I
one.
think that was on the opening drive.
Yeah.
Because it snapped a streak of I remember just random memory into the bank right now is coming into my mind, but they had some sort of streak of scoring on opening drives that was snapped that day against Washington. So anyway, again, context is always needed when it comes to turnovers. But when it comes to Lamar's this year and those 3 picks, none of them, not one of them has been on him.
No, and but so again, we should end on maybe some good things, which was Odafe Oweh. So pressures by the Ravens defense, according to Pro Football Focus, and put up here by Cole Jackson on Twitter. Odafe Oweh with 5, Kyle Van Noy 4, Broderick Washington 2, and then Robinson, Matabike, and Humphrey all had 1. And Brian Baldinger broke down some of Odafe Oweh's great plays. And Bobby, he's winning with different moves on both sides of the line. We mentioned how good of a game it was, but let's take a look with Baldy's breakdown.
Oweh go to work right here. He had a good game, real good game, but he's working at it. Chuck Smith, pass rush specialist. Been working on these moves every day with them. Cross chop right there. Now, can you get that left leg through? Bam, once you get that left leg through, then you can flatten to the quarterback. And he does. Like, this is what working and staying after it does. You watch him over here on the other side. He was an equal opportunity right here. All right, wide 9 look right here, working on Broderick Jones. Now, when you get him right here, bam. Now watch him turn this corner. Watch him get this right leg through. See, he's been working on that. Get that right through. Now watch him turn on a dime to get to Russell Wilson. And then you just get this. Then you just get him, you hit him with straight power, right? Bam. Now you slide off him again. Now run chase, and put a hit on that quarterback. Make him feel your punch. Always getting better. They need him.
You know what? He's always had the power. He's always had the athleticism. But what Baldy points out there, right there, is that getting that leg around, that feels like it's a Chuck Smith staple right there. That's the variety we're looking for when it comes to his techniques. And it's paying dividends. 7 sacks there, as we discussed last night. That's already a career high for Odafe through 11 weeks.
Yeah, as we all know, the fastest way to get between 2 points is a straight line. And when you can get around a massive offensive tackle like that and get a straight line to Russell Wilson, that's how you're going to finish, rather than, trying to go all the way around with your speed and athleticism. So, yeah, we gave him his flowers last night. Wanted to continue to do so again today. Please, defense, do not disappear. The offense will have a bounce back game. They will have a bounce back game. So please do not disappear. Come back. Show us that this is consistent. Show us that this is a new defense and not an outlier. That is what we need. And Odafe Oweh will be a big part of that. And speaking of the defense, Bobby, woof. Russell Wilson, according to Seth Walder of ESPN, Russell Wilson recorded a QBR of 14.5 in yesterday's win for the Steelers, the lowest QBR game of week 11. He said thus far. I mean, the week isn't over yet, but a
win is a win.
Bobby,
A win is a win.
Ravens,
if that's not Ravens Steelers.
The Ravens really lost without the Steelers scoring a touchdown and with Russell Wilson having the lowest QBR of any quarterback of the week. Oh.
Ravens Steelers takes new meaning is what that means. Right? It's like just when you think it couldn't get more rivalry-esque something like that happens and an 18-16 final score with 6 made field goals wins you a game. No touchdowns, to your point. Chris Boswell ends up being the guy. Beyonce. Halftime.
Beyonce.
Christmas. Ravens, Texans. Netflix. Remember, this is on Netflix. This game is on Netflix. I hope you guys are ready for this.
I noticed. I guess it was crazy. So I was ticked off. You knew that I had people over for the fight. And by the way, did you catch the women's fight before?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was a dog fight.
The women and oh my gosh, the flapped skin of her eye, like oh my gosh, that was
it got violent.
I had to turn away a couple times watching the ladies. Never had to turn away with Tyson and Paul because there was just not a whole lot of action. But it was so frustrating. We had a house full of people. You wait up until midnight for the thing to even start. And I'm like yawning. And you just get the buffering sign. It was terrible. Now, do I think they're going to have as many people watching Ravens Texans on Christmas night as that game, which was or that fight, which was once in a lifetime? We all wanted to see Mike Tyson. No, I don't think so. So there's some optimism. But did you see Antonio Brown? I guess he was there and he was like live streaming it from the big screens up there. And so apparently everybody went over there and started watching it and he got hit with the copyright strike and had to have it taken down.
The dude had 6.6 million watching.
That's crazy.
6.6 on his live stream.
That's crazy.
That's a loss for Netflix right there.
That's a loss. Like it hurts them and their credibility big time. So they better have a bounce back. Because I do think on Christmas Day, they will have a significant amount. I don't think it'll be as much as Tyson, but still. But Bobby, this is going to be the second time that Beyonce will perform at halftime during a Ravens game. First time was in the Super Bowl. I was there for that. They gave out those blue lights and we were supposed to be dancing. Please just don't let the lights go out afterwards. Okay. Beyonce took all the energy, took all the electricity, and then they had a regroup after that. So let's take it easy this time with Beyonce. Yeah. Hopefully the lights stay on.
Hey, and one note too on viewership competition that day. Remember, the NBA dominates Christmas Day, or at least it has in the past. The NFL just started showing up on Christmas Day in recent years.
We're going to start chipping away at that for sure.
Certainly, and obviously the matchups are going to be important. And I think Ravens Texans will be a fun one. I mean, it's not Ravens Bengals, it's not Ravens Chiefs, it's not Ravens Bills, but this is these are two teams that have met up in the playoffs in obviously as recently as last year, but the NBA, I'm curious to see especially with the Netflix wrinkle, be very curious to see what's up with viewership and how it performs. And speaking of primetime games, or at least that's the standalone game for Christmas, Ravens Texans. Last night, Sunday Night Football, the Chargers held on to beat Cincinnati 34-27. Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh now 7-3, which sets up the Harbaugh Bowl coming up 1 week from tonight at SoFi in LA. Of course, this division is still being dominated by Kansas City, but Buffalo did hand Patrick Mahomes and company their first loss of the year yesterday. So Kansas City 9-1, Chargers 7-3, Broncos 6-5, Raiders 2-8. That's what it's looking like in this division. And for Cincy, Sarah, oh boy,
it's getting harder.
Hang on tight.
Let me look at the AFC conference as a whole. Like obviously, so they've got to beat out the Chargers, Ravens, and Broncos for a wild card spot, right? I mean, Ravens, it'll either be the Ravens or the Steelers if the Ravens can make a comeback. I'm trying to see, because last week I think we both said that we still feel like the Bengals. Did we both say, or was it just me, that the Bengals can still make the playoffs? Were you on that boat too?
Probably. I don't remember what I said, but they're 4-7 right now.
So Dolphins 4-6 ahead of them, Colts 5-6 ahead of them, Broncos 6-5, Ravens 7-4, Chargers 7-3, Texans 6-4. Bobby, I don't even think I realized how far in the wild card race the Ravens are now.
Yeah.
They are below 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, they would be the 6th seed right now, and 7 get in these days, right?
Yes, they got some work to do.
Okay, so their number 6 is 7. They do hold the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Broncos, who are right behind them in case they surge. But the Ravens need this. The Ravens need this win over the Chargers.
No doubt.
Chargers
No
are ahead
doubt.
of them right now.
As far as what's coming up for the Bengals, again, 4-7. They've got home game against Pittsburgh. They're going into their bye, since he is. So week 12 bye. Week 13 home against the Steelers. Week 14 away at Dallas. Away at Tennessee. Week 15 Cleveland, Denver, and Pittsburgh. They've got some winnable games left on that schedule, but they're just so damn inconsistent that you don't want to put, aside from Tennessee and Dallas and Cleveland, you don't want to put anybody in there as like, a guaranteed win for Cincy.
Yeah, no. So, okay, so that's who the Bengals have left. Let's look at the Steelers because the Ravens have to still try to catch the Steelers. Okay, so Steelers.
Oh, I'll tell you what they got. 6 of their next 8 in division. Rip it off. You got it in front of you, right?
Yeah, Browns, Bengals, Browns. So they're going to be. That's 4 games in a row for them. That's AFC North. So it was the Ravens, then Browns, Bengals, Browns. Then they have the Eagles, who are playing well. Then back to the Ravens, and then the Chiefs.
It's a
Ravens
gauntlet.
can still the Ravens for sure can still win the division. They'd have to win the next head-to-head game. And then the Steelers, are the Steelers really going to beat the Eagles and Chiefs? And if the Ravens can exact revenge and split, they very much can still regain the conference, the division, which is why I keep telling everybody, like, the season's not over. The season is not over. Look at yourself. Stop shooting yourself in the foot. Period.
It is an all-out gauntlet for Pittsburgh down the stretch.
Oof.
So we're gonna learn a lot about them over the next month and a half, and the Ravens learned a lot about them yesterday at their place. Lauren Wunderlich and Bill Justice, thank you guys for the support that you give us as members of the Vault Patreon community. You too can join if you're interested in doing so this football season for as little as $1.99. It is the bedrock of our channel and our community here, and we appreciate you, Lauren and Bill, and all of our patrons for the support that you give us through that platform. Over 2,600 of you joined us today, or at least you are right now. We had I'm sure throughout the hour, well over that. So thank you guys. The funny little end here is that the Giants are still on the Ravens schedule. As you know, there's only one NFC team, Sarah, that has beaten Lamar Jackson, and that is the New York Football Giants, who today benched Daniel Jones officially. So Tommy DeVito is going to get a shot to start games again in the NFL. Drew Lock is going to be backing him up, which means Danny didn't just get benched, he got demoted to third-string quarterback for the Giants. So crazy how this league works. He's literally the only quarterback that's beat Lamar from that conference, and the Ravens are going to see them again, and it may very well be Tommy DeVito in a few weeks from now.
Well, I don't want to underestimate Tommy DeVito because Gardner Minshew and Bo Nix and all these, guys that you don't think can go toe-to-toe somehow figure out a way to win. That being said, that one guy, Wink Martindale, he's at Michigan now, right?
He's
not with the Giants anymore?
Right.
All right, I feel pretty good. But that's a
Tommy
ways away.
DeVito.
Got to
Can
take
you
care
imagine?
of the Chargers first. This is Monday Night Football?
What's that?
Chargers. This is Monday Night
Yeah,
Football, right?
Ravens, Chargers, Monday night. And then we get a little bit of a break. We get the standalone game, of course, Christmas Day. But you and I are, for the most part, through our primetime gauntlet. What we're not through is 3 games in 10 days, which starts December 15th.
What are the 3?
Can be a tough stretch.
What are the 3?
I think the Giants are one of them, Texans are one of them, and Steelers.
Ugh. Woof.
Yeah.
Right.
December 21st is the Steelers. Is December 15th the Giants? I think December 15th is the Giants, and then December 25th, Christmas afternoon, is Houston. That's off the top of my head. So
yeah, good job. Giants, Steelers, Texans. Yep. And then
Yep.
week 18 is the Browns, and I swear on my life.
Yeah. You can't get swept by Cleveland this year. That can't happen. That's going to be a major problem.
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh, Dragon Ball Vault writes, Bengals going to sweep the Steelers, LOL, and they should lose to the Chiefs and Eagles. Habitual Line Stepper says, don't panic, flock members. We're right there where we want to be. We will win out and finish strong on the road to Orchard Park and Arrowhead. And that's kind of the reality, right? At this point, the road to the Lombardi, the road to New Orleans probably is going to have to be outside of Baltimore. That's what it's looking like.
Probably.
You can pretty much put that in ink.
Which one's Orchard Park?
Buffalo.
Oh, that is Buffalo. Okay.
Buffalo's.
Which, by the way, and some people don't care. I do. Yesterday certainly took a hit in Lamar Jackson's MVP race. Not only because, he didn't play well against the Steelers, but Josh Allen was put on the cape last night.
Lit it
I
up.
mean,
he
on that 4th and 2, people have said it this morning. If Allen is able to pull off the MVP, that play right there is going to be played on repeat, where it was 4th and 2, and he ends up scoring a touchdown of 25 some odd yards, and he's just barreling in. So, I mean, he took that game and he won it, and that's exactly what you have to do to make a case for most valuable player.
Yeah.
So,
and if you look at the head-to-head stats between Josh and Lamar through 11 weeks, Lamar is still the guy.
Yeah.
But there is something to be said about a 9-2 team still in play for the overall top seed in the AFC, which Buffalo is right now. The head-to-head, obviously, between Lamar and Josh, not only statistically through 11 weeks, but when you go back to the home game on Sunday Night Football, obviously is advantage Lamar. But Josh has got his team in a much better position right now through 11 weeks, and that's obviously a part of it.
Yeah, I think before this week, Lamar was running away with it, and now I think he just opened the door for some competition. So
I agree.
Yeah, I think late November, early December football is obviously gonna decide it.
Yeah. Nick Clemens writes, Derrick Henry has a combined 11 fourth quarter touches in our 4 losses.
Oof.
Coaching malpractice will continue to be the downfall of this team, and it's wasting prime years of the world's best football player. Colin writes, am I the only one who feels this is a positive loss? If the defense figures it out, we can win the Super Bowl. The only loss that matters is the final one. # pray for Tucker. Sam Pate says, Ravens fans on Mondays. We got to find more touches for Henry, Zay, Likely, Keaton, Andrews, Bate, Hill. May as well find touches for the towel boy, too. Oh, that's funny. We're fully caught up on Super Chats.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you guys for joining us on this Monday. Awesome audience. A lot of generosity. 32 Super Chat donations. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring the show, as always. Thanks to all of you for dropping by. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're closing in on that 20,000 subscription count number. Would love to hit that at some point, maybe before the end of November. I don't know. Let's see if we can do it. Partner, appreciate you as always. 23 hours from right now, we'll be back with another one on Tuesday. Homage giveaway Wednesday on deck. Hopefully you guys will be ready for that one. T-shirts will be flying, or at least one will be. So look forward to that. And I think that just about does it. You all set?
I'm all set. I'm ready for a bounce back week. Let's go.
Sounds good. 1 week from tonight, Ravens will try to do exactly that in Los Angeles against Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, who playing some good football right now, 7-3 through 11 weeks. For Sarah Ellison, I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We'll catch up with you in under 23 hours from right now for a Tuesday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. And until then, as always, thanks for joining us here inside the vault. Talk soon.